In March of this year, on a cold, rainy day in Woodstock, Georgia, family and friends would gather, but not a typical gathering full of joy and laughter, but rather a gathering full of tears and unsolved feelings, where the weight of loss presses down with such force that it almost feels real. As confusion sets in and the question of why her? Why my daughter, my friend, my sister, leaving a raw and aching feeling of emptiness. Friends and loved ones gather, offering a glimmer of comfort through mutual recognition of the loss they are all enduring. Her departure became so sudden, but unfortunately also came with the unwanted fame. Thousands of people knowing too much about the political aftermath and too little about her life. It became more about how she died, who was at fault, why was he in the country, what did the mayor do, what did the governor write to the president, and what the president should have done or rather failed to do. And now the former president using her name to campaign to become president again. Although some of these questions are warranted, it completely overshadowed who she was. This is the case of Laken Riley. Hi everyone, welcome back to True Crime List with me, Alyssa. If you are new, welcome, glad you could join. Now, this case is just so irritating to me because Laken seemed to be doing everything right. She was on this path to becoming a nurse, getting amazing grades in school, learning independence as she's entering adulthood, and then this tragedy seemed to have come out of nowhere. Then the political aftermath that has ensued since this case happened in January of this year, it seems to be making it harder for Laken's family, which we will go over later in the video. But also, I can't help but think of the phrase, bad things happen to good people. And I think in a lot of the cases we're going to cover on this channel, this happens to be the case. So let's get into it. Laken Hope Riley was born on January 10th, 2002 in Marietta, Georgia to her parents Allison and William, who would have another daughter and son together. Her mother would end up remarrying to John Phillips, and when Laken's younger sister was born, they instantly became best friends. She would end up graduating from River Ride High School in Woodstock, Georgia in 2020, and while she was there, she was an avid runner and even joined the cross-country team. Her coach would even describe her as a beautiful person who was an unselfish teammate, like pushing her teammates to do and be the best that they could be. Laken was the type of person that had this infectious smile and laugh that would touch every person in the room. Her deep appreciation for kindness allowed her to become a nanny for 2 young children. In addition, she was devoted to serving the Lord and was very involved with her church, where she would even go on mission trips. Her love for the Lord exemplified every aspect of her life and was overall an amazing person. Smart, kind, compassionate, thoughtful, doesn't even scratch the surface on how loving Laken was to everyone around her. She would go as far as making gifts for people to make those around feel comfortable and seen because they were important to her, and they knew that. Similar to most young adults, Laken would document her life on Instagram, where she would share pictures at the beach with friends, being up on a high-riser building in New York, going to prom, a mission trip she took to Honduras, and so many more memories. Since Laken was a young girl, she always knew she wanted to pursue a career where she could help people, and this is when she would find a passion to become a nurse, and even more specifically, she wanted to care for children. It was time for Laken to start applying for colleges, and the University of Georgia was on her radar as she was born and raised in Georgia. But since the university was about a 3-hour drive from her hometown, it was far enough away where she could gain and learn some independence, but also close enough to visit home as often as she wanted, without it being too much of a hassle. I mean, I went to college like 20 hours from where my family was, so I definitely wasn't able to visit home as much as I would have liked, but it was ultimately my decision. But anyway, Laken was so excited to start this new journey of adulthood and study what she was passionate about, helping people. She filled out the application, sent in all the requirements, then it was time to wait around and see if she got accepted. To her suspicion, the letter from the University of Georgia would eventually come in the mail, and as she eagerly opened it and started to read the letter, she was in fact accepted into the undergraduate program. And now she can start preparing for her move as this new chapter in her life was about to begin. She would even go on to join the Alpha Chi Omega sorority chapter and was deeply adored by her sorority sisters. I mean, from what I know, it can be like a little family. After she completed her undergrad in the spring of 2023, Laken would transfer to Augusta University College of Nursing at Athens. Now, since Augusta University is in partnership with the University of Georgia, Laken could still participate in UGA campus activities, like continuing to be an active member in her sorority. Laken would work tirelessly in school to where she would make it on the dean's list in the fall of 2023, and by now she was enrolled as a junior, set to graduate in the class of 2025 with her BSN. But unfortunately, Laken would not see her senior year of college. This leads us to today's case on Thursday, February 22nd of 2024, when 22-year-old Laken went out for a morning run on the University of Georgia campus. The trail she went on was peaceful and tranquil, and Laken was alone, running without fear. However, that was a different timeline, a path that did not exist. Around noon, a few hours of not returning home, one of Laken's roommates would call the university police and report their concerns about Laken still being gone. Officers responded to the area at 12:38 p.m. and began searching for Laken. Unfortunately, campus police would find Laken's body in a wooded area behind a lake near campus. Despite emergency responders trying to revive Laken, it was apparent that she was no longer alive and had visible injuries to her body. The following day, a suspect by the name of Jose Antonio Ibarra was arrested and charged with her murder, who was then not eligible for bond. Jose, a 26-year-old migrant from Venezuela, and his wife illegally came to the United States in September of 2022, where he would enter near El Paso, Texas, in which he was arrested by U.S. Border Patrol in April of 2023, where he was processed for immediate removal. However, court documents show he was released after claiming reasonable fear of returning to his home country. Later that year, he was arrested again in New York City for child endangerment and for a vehicle license violation, where he was seen driving a scooter without a license and had a child with him who did not have a helmet on. Jose was released, though, before ICE could issue a detainer. At this point, Jose fled to Georgia, where he would get in trouble with the law again when he was charged with theft by shoplifting, and on another occasion for driving under the influence and driving without a license. Since Jose failed to appear in court for the shoplifting charge, a bench warrant was issued in December of 2023. So this is where things are a bit confusing because there's not a lot of public information as to how exactly Jose allegedly attacked Laken and what his motive, if any, existed. But prosecutors allege that Jose beat Laken with a rock, then dragged her body away from the path she was jogging on to a secluded area in an attempt to conceal her body. Investigators were able to identify Jose through video footage from campus security, and he even lived in an apartment near the university's campus with his brother, who authorities allege to be a member of a dangerous Venezuelan that is responsible for a terrifying wave of violence in New York City that included robberies where victims were dragged to the ground only to get their devices stolen, and violent confrontations with law enforcement. Here's even a picture of Jose's brother posing with a weapon, which completely violates U.S. law regarding undocumented migrants because they are not legally allowed to possess firearms in the U.S. His brother also used a fake green card to get a job at the University of Georgia, where Laken was attending. Now, it's not clear whether Jose was affiliated with the same, but from what we've seen, he has a criminal record that speaks for itself when it comes to his character. In regards to Laken's case, it is believed that Jose attacked alone and that him and Laken had no relationship to one another, and that this was, quote, a crime of opportunity. Laken's autopsy showed that Laken passed away from blunt force trauma to the head, and upon many arrest affidavits against Jose, one of them states that he seriously disfigured her skull. The indictment also accuses Jose of asphyxiating her and pulling up her clothes with the intent to perform non-consensual acts to her body. As a result, Jose is facing 9 felony charges in relation to Riley's murder, such as aggravated assault, kidnapping, malice murder, aggravated battery, felony murder, and a few other charges. Oh, also, amongst these charges, there was a peeping Tom charge, and I guess the same day of Laken's death, Jose was accused of peering through another person's window, so not really sure what his deal was that day, but something was going on. Something interesting in this case is that records show that Laken's phone made a call to 911 during her attack, but as of right now, investigators have not publicly released the call, and they have the right to withhold it if, quote, a death is captured on the recording. Now, it's not clear what time the phone call was made or if Laken herself was the one who made the call, but Jose did get charged with preventing another person from completing a 911 call. And Athens Clarke County Police told news sources that no dialogue exists. So it kind of leaves the speculation of what was even heard on the call, and police also believe that the incident happened between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Since Jose pled not guilty to the murder, he will be going to trial, which is set to start on November 18th of this year, 2024. So I'm going to assume that a lot more information about this case will come out in court during the trial. So I will keep y'all updated when more information comes out. Now, Laken's case has made a pretty major uproar regarding border security. Even Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has spoke out stating, quote, "For more than 2 years, we've demanded action to secure our southern border and answers from the White House about who's coming into our country. We've yet to get an answer, we've yet to see action, and now a tragedy has happened. We need answers and we need action," end quote. Even Texas U.S. Senator Ted Cruz has spoken out about Laken and has criticized immigration policies and tactics, and even stated her life was taken by someone who should not have been there. Because remember, Jose came into the U.S. from El Paso, Texas. And current U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump both have spoken about this case since February of this year. On March 7th, Biden was at the State of the Union address, so this was 2 weeks after Laken's death, and Marjorie Greene, a congresswoman of Georgia's 14th district, wore a shirt that read, "Say her name, Laken Riley," with a button with Riley's face. And during Biden's speech, she interrupted yelling, "What about Laken Riley? Say her name." And you guys, Biden did end up responding, but he said her name wrong.
Laken Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal.
And reasonably so, Laken's mom slammed Biden for this, stating on her Facebook, quote, "Biden does not even know my child's name. It's pathetic. If you are going to say her name, even when forced to do so, at least say the right name," end quote. So yeah, Biden would end up later apologizing for referring to Jose as an illegal after Democratic members of Congress criticized his word choice, but he would end up saying his heart went out to Laken's parents. Also, on the same day Biden spoke at the State of the Union address, the House of Representatives passed the Laken Riley Act, and if this bill is enacted, it would mandate federal detention of migrants who commit crimes such as burglary, theft, shoplifting, or larceny, as well as allowing states to sue the federal government for alleged failures to enforce immigration laws. Then Trump came out 2 days later after Biden's speech at a rally in Rome, Georgia, where he met with Laken's family, and during his speech, he basically was sharing his thoughts on this case in reference to the United States borders and laws. So there has definitely been legal responses since Laken's death, including several bills that have been signed, which I will put a link in the description below if you are interested to check all that out. Laken's father, Jason, spoke out stating that he fears his daughter's death is being exploited as a political wedge. Look, it's very unfortunate that events like Laken's case have to happen before change is made, but you can view it as you obviously want to. Now, Laken's hometown community really came together since Laken's death. Her high school's cross-country coach planned a fundraiser event to raise money for the Laken Riley Foundation, where all proceeds will be used to drive homicide awareness and safety for women. At this event, people paid to run or walk 22 laps around the track, where each lap stood for 1 year of Laken's life. And this has helped her family and community take a step towards healing. The sorority that Laken was an active member at UGA also made a post sharing how much of an impact Laken made on their lives and reminded people to tell your friends you love them. Augusta University also made a post extending their deepest sympathies to Laken's family. My heart goes out to Laken's family and loved ones as they continue to seek justice. But let's not forget that Laken's life, impact, and story matter. So that is it for today's case. Please y'all be safe out there and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.